Hi, my friends. Today I want to present you a new story. Enjoy watching it.
The scent of lavender lingered in the air as I hung my wedding dress on the bedroom door. It looked ethereal under the soft glow of the bedside lamp, the intricate lace casting delicate shadows against the wall. Tomorrow was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. Yet, a strange heaviness gnawed at my chest, an unshakable sense that something was amiss. Stephen had disappeared downstairs after dinner, claiming he needed to finalize some last-minute arrangements. His parents had arrived earlier in the day, bringing with them their usual air of formality and thinly veiled judgment. I had tried to brush off their curt remarks about the modest venue and my simple upbringing, but their words lingered in my mind like an unwanted guest. As I checked on the twins sleeping soundly in their cribs, I heard muffled voices drifting up from the living room. Stephen and his parents were talking. At first, I told myself it was none of my business, but the tone of their conversation tugged at my curiosity. My name surfaced more than once, each mention sharpening my focus. I tiptoed down the stairs, my heart thudding louder with each step. Stopping just short of the living room, I crouched behind the banister, careful to stay out of sight. "Stephen, this is the best solution," his father said, his deep voice firm. "If you marry her, the inheritance is guaranteed. Your mother and I have worked too hard to risk losing it because of your hesitation." "I'm not ready for this," Stephen replied, his voice strained. "Annabelle is, she's wonderful, but twins, marriage, all of it, it's too much. I'm not even sure I'm the right person for her." "You don't have a choice," his mother interjected coldly. "Do you think we would tolerate you shirking your responsibilities? You'll marry her, secure the inheritance, and if you decide later it's not for you, then fine. But right now, you'll do as we say." My breath caught, and I clutched the banister to steady myself. The words pierced through me, each one a dagger. I wasn't a person to them. I was a convenience, a tool in their scheme. "What about the boys?" Stephen asked after a pause. "What happens if I walk away?" "They're her responsibility," his father said dismissively. "She's capable enough. And frankly, you're doing her a favor by marrying her at all." I didn't wait to hear more. My pulse roared in my ears as I stumbled back up the stairs, my chest tightening with every step. Once in my room, I locked the door and pressed my back against it, gasping for air. Tears burned hot trails down my cheeks. The man I thought I knew, the man I had loved, was a stranger, a puppet with strings pulled by his parents. I stared at my wedding dress, its once beautiful form now a cruel mockery of the life I had envisioned. Anger, sorrow, and betrayal churned in my gut. How could I walk down the aisle knowing the truth? How could I stand before everyone and say vows that would mean nothing to him? I wiped my tears and pulled out my phone, sending a quick message to my maid of honor, Ella. "Wedding's off. Please let everyone know. I'll explain later." Almost immediately, my phone buzzed with her reply. "What happened? Are you okay?" I turned the phone over, unwilling to face her questions, and sank to the floor, pulling my knees to my chest. My babies were all that mattered now. Stephen's lies might have shattered my dreams, but I would protect my boys from his family's toxic web at any cost. Tomorrow, instead of walking down the aisle, I would walk away for good. The sun rose with an unsettling stillness, as if the world itself held its breath. My dress still hung limply from the door, untouched since the night before. The twins stirred in their cribs, their soft murmurs pulling me from a sleepless haze. Today was supposed to be the day I vowed to share my life with Stephen, but those vows had already shattered into 1,000 irreparable pieces. I spent the morning packing a bag with essentials, clothes for the boys, diapers, and a few of their favorite toys. My fingers trembled as I zipped it shut, knowing I couldn't stay here another night. By the time Stephen returned from his morning errands, I planned to be gone. As I moved about the house, a knock on the door startled me. My heart skipped. Could he already know? Slowly, I opened the door to see Ella standing there, her face a mix of confusion and concern. "What's going on, Annabelle?" she demanded, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. "Your text last night freaked me out." I closed the door, glancing nervously at the staircase. "I can't marry him," I whispered. "Why not?" she asked, lowering her voice but clearly agitated. "What happened?" I hesitated, the weight of the truth pressing against my chest. I overheard him talking to his parents. I finally said, my voice breaking. They're forcing him to marry me for some inheritance. He doesn't want this, any of it. Ella's eyes widened in disbelief. What? That's insane. Are you sure? I nodded, biting back tears. I heard him say it, Ella. He doesn't even think he's ready to be a father. Before she could respond, the front door slammed shut. My stomach dropped. Stephen's voice called out from the hallway. Annabelle, Ella? I froze, clutching Ella's arm as if she could shield me from the storm brewing just outside the room. Footsteps echoed up the staircase, each one sending a jolt of adrenaline through me. The door creaked open, and there he stood, his eyes flickering between us. What's going on? He asked, his tone cautious. His gaze fell on the packed bag by the crib. Why is that there? I'm leaving, I said, forcing steel into my voice. Stephen's brow furrowed, and he stepped closer. What are you talking about? Leaving? You're not making any sense. I heard everything, Stephen, I said, my words sharp. Last night, you and your parents. I know why you're marrying me, and it's not out of love. His face paled, and he opened his mouth to speak, but I cut him off. Don't deny it. You think I'm just some obligation. Well, I won't be trapped in a marriage built on lies. Annabelle, wait. He started, but I raised a hand to stop him. No, I said firmly. I deserve better. The boys deserve better. The room fell into a tense silence, the only sound the soft coos of the twins waking in their cribs. Ella stood beside me, her arms crossed, glaring at Stephen. Annabelle, he said softly, his voice cracking, please, let's talk about this. No, I repeated, my voice steady this time. There's nothing left to say. I turned away, gathering the boys in my bag. As I walked out the door, I didn't look back. The weight of betrayal still bore down on me. The days after I left Stephen were a blur of sleepless nights and constant motion. I stayed at a small guest house, its modesty a sharp contrast to the life I had left behind. Every creak of the floorboards and gust of wind against the windows put me on edge, as though Stephen or his parents would appear at any moment. On the third evening, just as I had settled the twins into their travel cribs, a knock echoed through the room. My pulse quickened, fear and anger intertwining. I approached the door slowly, peering through the peephole. It was Stephen. I hesitated, but his voice broke the silence. Annabelle, I know you're there. Please, I just want to talk. With a resigned sigh, I opened the door just enough to see his face. His disheveled hair and dark circles under his eyes mirrored my own exhaustion. What do you want? I asked, my voice cold. He shifted uncomfortably. I just need a chance to explain. Please. I stepped back, letting him in. He glanced around the room, his gaze softening when it landed on the twins, then returning to me with a mix of guilt and desperation. I'm sorry, he began, his voice heavy. For everything. For what you heard, for how it made you feel. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. You didn't mean for me to hear the truth. I shot back, folding my arms. He flinched but pressed on. I was under so much pressure from my parents. They've always controlled everything, my decisions, my future. But none of that means I don't love you or our boys. I laughed bitterly. Love? Stephen, love isn't something you force. You let them dictate our entire relationship, and now you expect me to just forget everything I heard? No. He admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. I don't expect that, but I'm asking for a chance to make things right, to prove to you that I'm not the person you heard that night. I stared at him, searching his face for sincerity. How? I'll cut them off, he said quickly. No more interference. No more money. I want to be a better man, for you, for the twins. Please, Annabelle. Don't give up on us. The vulnerability in his voice gave me pause, and for a fleeting moment, doubt crept in. Could he change? Could I trust him again? Stephen. I began cautiously. Words are easy. Promises are easy. But trust? That takes time, and I'm not sure I have any left to give. I'll do whatever it takes, he insisted, stepping closer. Anything. The twins stirred behind me, their soft cries breaking the tension. I turned to comfort them, grateful for the distraction. I need time to think, I said finally, avoiding his gaze. Right now, my priority is them, not us. He nodded slowly, his shoulders slumping. I understand, but I'll be here, Annabelle, whenever you're ready. As he left, the door clicking shut behind him, I sank onto the edge of the bed. His apology lingered in the air, but so did my doubts. Could love survive such deep betrayal, or was it already too late? The morning light filtered through the sheer curtains of my temporary apartment, painting the room in muted gold. The twins were still asleep, their tiny breaths filling the silence. I stood by the window, sipping a cup of lukewarm coffee, the weight of Stephen's words from the night before still pressing on my mind. I had to make a decision, not just for me, but for the boys. And as much as I wanted to bury myself in my heartbreak, I couldn't afford to. They needed me, and I couldn't let them down. The faint buzz of my phone broke my thoughts. I hesitated before picking it up, my heart racing as I read the message. "We need to talk. It's urgent, Stephen." I ignored it. I had made up my mind to focus on building a future for myself and the twins. But as I scrolled through the rest of my messages, another caught my eye. It was from my lawyer. "Annabelle, I've drafted the custody paperwork. Let me know when you're ready to move forward." It was the trigger I needed to act. I couldn't live in limbo anymore. Stephen's apology, though heartfelt, didn't erase what he had done. Trust was a bridge he had burned, and I wasn't ready to rebuild it. I set up a meeting with my lawyer that afternoon. As I packed a diaper bag and prepared the twins for the outing, a knock on the door startled me. My pulse quickened. Stephen again. Opening the door cautiously, I was met with a courier holding an envelope. "Delivery from Ms. Annabelle Hayes," he said. I signed for it and shut the door, my fingers trembling as I tore open the envelope. Inside was a handwritten note. "If you think you can take the boys away from me, you're wrong. I'll fight you for them. Stephen." My breath caught in my throat. This wasn't the man who had begged for a second chance. This was someone else, someone dangerous. By the time I arrived at my lawyer's office, I was more resolute than ever. "We need to move quickly," I told her as I handed over the note. "This changes things," she said, her expression grim. "We'll need to ensure you have evidence of his instability. Do you have anything else?" "Just my word," I replied, feeling the weight of the battle ahead. That evening, as I tucked the boys into bed, I couldn't shake the sense of unease. Stephen's note had reignited a fire in me, but it also left a chilling realization. This wasn't just about our relationship anymore. It was about protecting my children from a man I no longer recognized. The court ruling came on a rainy Wednesday, the kind of day where the world felt like it was holding its breath. I sat in the courtroom, my hands clasped tightly together, my lawyer beside me. Stephen was across the aisle, his expression unreadable. When the judge awarded me full custody, I felt a rush of relief, but it was bittersweet. This wasn't how I had imagined life would turn out. Me raising the twins alone, their father reduced to supervised visits. Yet it was the best outcome for my boys, and that was all that mattered. The storm outside mirrored the whirlwind of emotions within me as I stepped out of the courthouse, clutching the boys close. "It's over," I whispered to myself, or so I thought. 2 weeks later, I began settling into a routine. The boys seemed happier, more at ease in our new apartment. I started working from home, freelancing as a graphic designer, slowly rebuilding the life I had once envisioned. One evening, as I was putting the twins to bed, my phone buzzed with a call from an unknown number. I hesitated before answering. "Annabelle." A familiar voice drawled on the other end. It was Stephen's mother. "What do you want?" I asked, keeping my tone steady. "I'm calling to warn you," she said, her voice sharp. "Stephen's not done with this. He's been unstable. Watch your back." Her words sent a chill down my spine. The calm I had fought so hard to build was shattered in an instant. That night, I triple-checked the locks on the doors and windows. I tucked the boys into my bed, the weight of Stephen's mother's warning looming over me. The next morning, as dawn broke through the curtains, I heard a faint knock at the door. My heart sank. I glanced through the peephole, half expecting Stephen, but instead, I saw a police officer. "Miss Hayes," he began, his tone serious. "Stephen has been charged with cruelty to 2 former fiancés who were found dead, buried outside of town. We've received reports that Stephen has left town. His car was found abandoned near the state border. We believe he might try to contact you." I nodded, my stomach tightening. That evening, as I prepared dinner, I noticed a handwritten note slipped under the door. The handwriting was unmistakable. "You might have won the boys, but this isn't over. S." I froze, my hands trembling. It was a chilling reminder that some battles don't end with court rulings. But this time I wasn't afraid. I called the police and handed them the note. The police then ambushed Stephen outside the house, with 2 police officers hiding in a neighboring room. When late at night, Stephen opened the door with a lockpick and lunged at me with a ghastly expression. The police showed up and detained him. That was the end of the story of my failed marriage, and I breathed a sigh of relief. Now I knew that my children were safe.
Friends, what do you think of this story? Write your opinion in the comments. Would you like more stories? Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button so you don't miss any videos. See you tomorrow.